Laura Faye, the wonderful Laura Faye, and she's a Pleiadian, a Starseed, and a Galactic Channel. Welcome, Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Mary Amy.
Did I say Amy?
It's okay. It's like a common thing. I should change my name to Amy. It's been my whole life, but that's okay.
Mary Amy. I'm
Okay.
off to a really good start.
It is a good start. You're here.
Yes.
I'm so grateful and blessed. So how did you discover that you're a Pleiadian Starseed?
So I discovered Pleiadian. It was a activation word for me. I can't tell you where I even first heard the word, but there was something in hearing it that started to unlock memories. It started to unlock the DNA. And I feel like from this activation, I was in a very transitional place in my life. So I was getting divorced and I was by myself for the first time pretty much ever, but definitely within 15 years, I was alone. And I felt the Pleiadians coming to me very strong at that time because I didn't have any distractions. I wasn't working. And I was in this hermit phase where it was very unusual. And so everything started to get dialed up for me and my senses started to get dialed up. So I could hear them, I could see them, I could communicate with these beings, and I would feel a lot of surge of energy in my body whenever they had a message. So it kind of felt like I was being initiated for a bigger purpose in my life. And they felt like my star family, and they still do, but it feels like it unlocked all of this where I knew I could sense something my whole life that was beyond this dimension and realm, but starting to make sense of what that was started to make sense when I connected to the Pleiadians. And now it's become more than just the Pleiadians, and it's become almost like many different types of beings that are communicating with a lot of us here. I just feel like I'm more consciously aware of why and what they have to say. And it's because we're fundamentally connecting with them to usher in this higher timeline. That's the future of humanity. So they are our future selves guiding us. So it's kind of like you let go of linear time and start to feel into this where it's our future selves communicating with us now. And that's how I make sense of reality, which is kind of different than it feels like many people make sense of reality. But it's because we're being activated to the higher timeline that's not here yet visibly, but we all sense it and feel it and know it's coming.
Thanks for sharing that. For everyone out there or anyone out there who doesn't know what a Pleiadian is, can you describe what a Pleiadian is?
A Pleiadian is, you could call them the extraterrestrials. They are future versions of humans. And they're also the closest in our DNA to humans because they come from the 5th to the 7th dimension, which is unity consciousness. So they are beings that hold a higher dimension of consciousness, that hold a higher frequency. They vibrate at the frequency of unconditional love and joy and unity consciousness again. So Pleiadians, you just have to start to know about the different races, the different species beyond the human race and species. And Pleiadian is kind of, they have a vested interest in humans more so than some of the other species that have other priorities, that have other agendas, and nothing negative. They have no negative agenda. It's all for the betterment of our timeline and of our species and of Earth. So they're kind of like, a lot of them you could say feel like guardians of Earth. And a lot of that is the Galactic Federation of Light. And that would start to open us up to all the different beings that are beyond the human. And also I want to say human is misleading because we actually are not human, and that's a big lie. And I feel like there is no such thing as a human race, because pretty much everyone who's walking around is holding DNA from one of these extraterrestrial species, or a reptilian species, or any other type of species, but they're actually human is a lie that we've been sold to call ourselves, so that we don't actually know how powerful we are, because we're actually these other beings.
I agree with you. So when you experience this communication with these extraterrestrials, these Pleiadians, these Andromedans, these Arcturians, these Greys, or whatever extraterrestrial, you can use the Pleiadian as an example. What do you see or hear? Like, is it through, do you see a visual? Is it a sound? Is it a voice you hear? What is it for you, your experience?
Mostly clairaudient. So my hearing is the most profound sense. So I will hear messages. It's interesting being clairaudient, because we actually hear in our own voice. So people who are clairaudient may be walking around your whole life thinking you're talking to yourself, but it's actually not you talking. So you have to become more sensitive to the energy behind it. So I will get messages that are mostly auditory from the beings, and they have different energetic feelings to them. That's how I know if it's a Pleiadian or Arcturian. The Andromedans have been coming in more lately for me. I don't get messages from every single one. I don't typically get messages from Syrian energy. However, if they come through, sometimes they'll come through if there's a message for someone who's holding more Syrian codes or blue avian codes. So it just depends, because again, they all have different feelings behind what their message is and what they're here to help us with. So I feel also like part of the channeling comes through in an energy. So it isn't actually in words at all. It's more in what is the energy that needs to be anchored in to the crystal grid. What's the energy that we need to start to embody? And that I have to actually translate into words. And so sometimes channeling can feel like you're a translator, because you're actually translating bits of, like, it's clairsentience, you could say, because it's a feeling. And it's how we need to feel, like if our chakras are being activated, if it's our heart chakra being activated, or your womb that's clearing out, the sacral chakra, I'll get physical sensations and know it's connected to that message. So that's another way of interpreting the energy. And it's usually always a combination. Sometimes it's visuals, and they'll show me visuals that only mean something to me, but I know how to interpret them for the overall message. So that's another feeling too, because I'm just getting a lot about our psychic abilities becoming strengthened and becoming stronger. And so if people don't know that, a lot of people don't know how psychic you are, because you just think that it's part of how you're interpreting reality, and don't realize it's actually a gift to be able to visualize, or to be able to hear something or sense something very directly. So we're going to start to know that those are gifts, and not just, oh, I feel something in my body today. You'll know if it's a message and not just an ache or a pain or a sensation.
Are there any encounters that you've had with any of these beings that you want to share? I know you just shared how you are communicated with. Is there any encounters that you want to share, or that you were told to share, or even messages from them?
You know, most of the encounters come through in the astral, come through in the dream space. I recently had, or they actually did recently do a parallel, I call it a body swap, where I was very consciously aware that I was in two realities at once. There's my physical self here on Earth, and then an astral experience on the ships. So they will put you in situations where they can split your consciousness so that you know you're having a multidimensional experience to heal you. It was Arcturian. So I actually ended up going to get a CAT scan because I needed to go check something out. I was having very weird sensations, and it actually feels like the entire thing was a ruse to get me to physically go into this CAT scan bed so that they could double me or put me into the med bed on the ship at the same time, because I had this visible I remember looking up at this painted sky on the ceiling, because that's what they like to do, so you look at clouds, and I felt immediately all the beings coming in from the ship and healing me, and they told me, you're healthy, you're fine, and we had to do this to get you into this situation, so you'd be aware of this multidimensional ability that we all have. And it was all this happened within, I mean, maybe a minute, but it was very clearly all downloaded at once so that I'd be hyper aware of what they're actually able to do. So when we have these kinds of feelings or experiences that feel otherworldly, or like they're your imagination or something, that's actually you in a parallel universe, that's actually you in another timeline. And we are becoming aware that we are multidimensional. So these types of experiences may also start to get more common for people if you're being activated and watching these messages. So yeah, but I will say too, I've had many people tell me that I show up in their dreams on the ships, and I have a very strong connection to being a galactic ship captain as a Pleiadian. So that feels like that's where I am most of the time. I don't actually really feel like I'm here on Earth.
Can I come on the ship with you?
Yes.
I
feel like we will be able to do that consciously.
I know. There's some connection with you, and so much of what you're saying today is resonating with me. Either I've had something very similar. It's very strange what's going on here with you today, but I'm not going to, this is your time, so I'm not going to say anything right now.
Oh, I'm interested though.
I'll tell you, but okay. But it's all about you. So, because I know there's many humans / whatever they are that want to hear from you, because you are a symbol, you're a pioneer, and you are one of the first to speak out, and you have this grand following. So how can those out there exit the matrix and transition to 5D?
So you really just have to upgrade your frequency to a place that feels like you have transcended the paradigm of trauma, fear, and your old identity. So there is a letting go process that could be very scary. It could be. It feels like when you're on this timeline, you're naturally going to want to let go of it though. So it's not something that I would say try to do this and try to get to 5th dimension if you don't already feel very compelled to do that. And there's something motivating you, because right now what it feels like is we are the way showers. So if you feel like you are more resonating with 5th dimension and being a twin flame, being a starseed, that's enough to go on. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I feel like there's a lot of this, I want to make sure that I am a starseed before I really go down this rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to. It's this alone, knowing that you resonate with the word is enough. Mm-hmm. And it feels like a natural progression. I wouldn't try to push it, rush it, or do anything. I'd feel like just letting this unfold, because pretty much exiting the matrix is about letting go of things you don't want to do anymore. Mm-hmm. If your body is saying, I don't want to go into this job, I don't want to be in this relationship, your body is telling you to let go of things. And a lot of people will push that aside and not realize that that's the way to exit the matrix. And it's like you get programmed and told to do things you don't want to do, and that you have to hold on to trauma, and you have to heal yourself, and you have to have addictions or go to therapy. There's just a very normalizing of mental health issues. There's a normalizing of things that we shouldn't be normalizing, because they basically keep you in a low vibration. And so you actually will look like, when you say you want to feel good and happy all the time, and you actually are, that's seen as outrageous, because you should be feeling miserable. And there's this sense of all of it's inverted. And when you know that it's inverted and it's been programmed that our natural state is to feel good and not to feel fear and misery, you're already kind of halfway there to the fifth dimension, because there's a real doubling down. Especially, you notice, I just saw this the other day, where these entities that are trying to cling on to the old dimension are going to use vessels that are really riddled with fear and really riddled with old tapes and traumas, and they're going to attach and get into those vessels. So you're going to start to see people who are almost changing their personality because they have more fear, it may seem, or they have more of a agenda to keep you in a low vibration. And that's because these beings are in their vessels and running them, which is actually just making it easier for the ones of us who don't like that frequency and vibration to go in a different direction. So if it seems like everyone around you is even doubling down even more in negativity and fear and drama and whatever, wanting to, label you or anything, that's because it's like it's something about, we emit a higher frequency and vibration. So these beings are going to be even more attracted to you who are trying to leave the simulation. I feel like I just went on a tangent. I'm not sure what your original question was.
No, but also whatever you're saying is valuable, because you're sharing experience or a solution. So just go with it.
Yeah. I feel that sometimes I just go with whatever's coming through, but then there was something you asked me at the.
I was asking you about exiting the matrix, and then you said basically, I won't recap. If, like, when you say these entities basically are attaching themselves to, I guess, soulless humans, or those that are living in fear and probably all the lower vibration, is there a way for someone who maybe senses that they have something attached to them? Is there a way for them to get rid of one of these entities, if they're like a dark extraterrestrial, or if there's something like that? Do you know a solution for them? Like,
yes, I feel like a lot of it can be healed with awareness. Actually, it's pretty easy to heal from these entities being attached to you if you start to be aware of it. So awareness does a lot for us. And just actually even saying out loud, I do not consent to any reptilian entities in my vessel. And you have to speak. You have to use your throat chakra.
Together, everyone do it. Say it again. What do we say?
I do not consent to any entities.
I do not consent to any entities.
Demonic or otherwise reptilian. Or gray, or you fill in the blank for whatever it is that you want to say. You can say no archon entities. And the power of your voice and saying that out loud is very powerful. And it works the same way if you want to call on the archangels for protection, because the archangels can't protect you unless they can hear you say it. And so say that out loud as well. I call on Archangel Michael to put white light around me and protect my home.
Oh,
And
Archangel
say
Michael,
that.
white light around me. I
Right.
did that already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for everyone who does, I do all of that with those the angels.
I say it out loud and I walk around my house and say it. I would also, I don't know why this is coming through, but covering your TVs, mirrors, anything that's reflective surface, because that feels like that's how a lot of people are getting these entities to come to them. If you have a mirror in the bedroom, that's very bad. I would cover that up. TV in the bedroom, I wouldn't have it. Just if you have one, put something over it, because we really are surrounded by magic, and it feels like we have to know, okay, you were asking how to get the entities to detach. And it's like, I feel like I want to say you can work with a shaman and you can work with a plant medicine if that's something that speaks to you, but I'd also be very mindful of that, because, and again, I'm not a doctor or health practitioner, so I just want to say that, but it's like,
Disclaimer.
I was the disclaimer. I feel like, because of the health stuff I can get into issues with, but this is not about needing to find anyone outside of yourself to heal you, because you can do it all yourself. That's what I want to say. And again, I'm not a doctor, but your power of your voice and your power of your awareness is enough, and trust and know that. And everyone else is actually positioned to look like a position of authority, even shamans, who really there's no authority outside of yourself. And I feel like when we start to know that, that also will make you much more powerful.
It's funny that you're saying about the mirrors, because for whatever reason, I've had these mirrors in my bedroom, and every night when I'm going to sleep, I turn them away. I turn them against the wall. Like, I don't have them facing out, and I've never had, or I haven't had for 10 years, any television in my bedroom. And I always had this concern, I guess, of just that it wasn't a good idea, but the reflection, like you said. So on some level, I must have known that. And I already know, because I've seen, and I've had visions related to mirrors, and I know that I can actually look into a mirror and see some kind of futuristic, I guess, pathway or portal. So in like a while back, since like 2013. So I kind of already have an awareness about mirrors. Okay, twin flames. The best way for you to describe twin flames to us, and tell us about twin flames.
Yeah, so I was activated by my twin flame. It's been 3 years. I met him in the middle of 2019, and there was a big wave of us that were activated 2019, 2020 with our twin flames. That's the wave that I've connected to the most, because the twin flame is when you meet this person, it is like time stops. You get transported into another dimension and realm. It feels very otherworldly. There's something not typical about your connection from the very beginning. I had a glimpse of I'm just going to use my story, because I don't share my personal story very often, to explain what a twin flame is.
Right.
I feel like you get a glimpse of them typically. So I met my twin flame and then didn't see him again for 6 months. But within that 6-month period, there was an awareness, an energetic alignment that was happening. We would share similar things on Instagram. So I would share something, he'd share the exact same thing. There was a feeling that it was always within the same exact minute or hour, and that type of thing. And they were very spiritual. And so it was a sense of someone else that was spiritual like me, and someone who was thinking the same as me. and this energetic alignment to each other. And I had always been very spiritual anyway. I'd always had like law of attraction. I was reading Abraham Hicks and very interested in all metaphysical things, astrology anyway. But I never really felt like I knew what to do with that. So this person made me really embrace that side of me more. And it became bigger and bigger and bigger. So typically a twin flame is a spiritual activation. And that's how we should start to really know what it is, because it is not, again, something that feels like a relationship from the beginning. When we started to get together in the physical realm, and I was physically spending time with him, which is again 6 months after this first meeting, it was like 0 to 100 in a very short period of time, and lots of sexual attraction, immediate telepathic connection, synchronicities started happening all the time, angel numbers started happening and coming on for me all the time, which I'd never really seen before in my life. It was something that he actually saw a lot as well. So we'd send each other angel numbers back and forth all the time. And we would say the same things to each other as well. So we'd say very specific, similar things. We talk about the moon. I remember sending him a picture of the moon, and I think he sent me a picture of the moon at the exact same time. And it was like we were the same soul, having the same feelings and experiences. And then they disappear. Typically, you go through a separation with a twin flame because it goes from 0 to 100 so quick, so fast, that there's a chaser, there's a runner, there's a whole dynamic back and forth, because someone wants to chase and go towards this amazing otherworldly experience. That was when I first said the word fifth dimension, because I don't even know where it came from. Again, I started to get all this channeling abilities. My Kundalini started to activate. And that's, again, around the time I started channeling the Pleiadians. So I really attribute a lot to my twin flame activation. It's like, I don't know what came first, the Pleiadians or the twin flame, or they were all about on top of each other. So your psychic gifts start to come online with a twin flame, and you start to become aware that you're templated for a spiritual mission, very similar to Jesus and Mary Magdalene. So you will feel this Christ consciousness start to come on with this person as well. That's what I've found. And it seems like there's an agenda to not have us think that way about a twin flame, but that's everyone that I've connected to that's a true twin flame feels like they are templated with Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And so that's what I can speak to, or Krishna and Radha. You will start to just naturally find these, you could call them famous twin flames, the original twin flames, the ones that we're templated with to continue to carry on the mission of activating humanity to know that we're connected to source energy. So that's the other thing I will say, just to kind of wrap this together, is that when you're with them, you feel a third presence, which is God. You feel a third presence, which is source energy, because you are the Holy Trinity connecting masculine, feminine to God's source. And the runner twin, which leads to lots of separation, which is very painful, feels all this just as much as you do. And instead of wanting to run towards it, they want to run away from it because it's overwhelming and it's hard to know what's going on. Typically, that's the masculine. It doesn't always have to be, but it's the one who is more connected to the material, physical realm, who actually probably is going to need to clear more karma and do whatever they need to do in the physical to allow the awakened counterpart, which is typically the feminine, but not always, to be more in the spiritual higher realms, getting messages and getting visions and activating your connection to where we're going. Because you the feminine counterpart typically leads spiritually and the masculine counterpart leads physically. And that's how you balance in the separation, is a time to really go more deeply into yourself and heal from anything that's come up from the separation, because it will trigger all of your unhealed traumas and wounds to come to the surface to heal them, because we're not carrying them into the fifth dimension with us. And we're here to really anchor in the new paradigm of what it means to be in a divine union, in a partnership, in a relationship. And we're not carrying any trauma bonds, abandonment wounds, rejection wounds, unworthiness. We're not carrying any of that into the new paradigm. And that can take years to clear, which is what I feel like this wave is still clearing.
Which leads me to something I just thought of something before. I'm going to ask you to pull a card if you will do that. And I forgot to mention that before we start, and if you would be willing to do that. For those that are just awakening or haven't awakened, whether or not it's going to be the solar flash, the solar flares, or they're going to have just a mystical awakening or Kundalini awakening, what will happen if it takes is time going to stand still for them and they're going to still be ushered in? Or do you sense that there's going to be a cutoff if people don't figure it out within a certain amount of time? Or is it more like if they have the will for it, they'll go into it, and if they don't, they won't? What's your thought on that?
I feel like a lot of those souls have aligned to the gray alien timeline, and they are in a different universe from us. They're on a different trajectory, and it is a very different experience for them and for their soul. And so it's a kind of feeling like, and I don't want to sound that I don't want to make it sound that we are heartless towards those souls, but really we're here for the ones who want to be awakened. And so our timeline is not going to be to worry or concern ourselves. And I'm saying this knowing that there are members of my family that are on the gray alien timeline. I mean, that's the truth of it. But their soul is going to have to incarnate multiple more times in realities that are dense, in realities that have karma, and our reality is not going to be that. So I say, I'll see you in a few more incarnations, possibly, or I'll see you wherever I see you in the cosmos, because we have to really just let them go. Again, it's a lot of letting go of the ones that we cannot save, knowing you're going to be a way shower and you're going to align to the others that are awakened on our timeline. And then what it's going to be, what I've been shown, is that we may have some types of rescue missions where we can go back into the old timeline, very similar to the Matrix. We can go back into the old timeline. We can see who possibly is awakening, because there will still be people who are awakening.
Hello, are you awakened? Hello, little one.
We'll be able to tell, because you can actually kind of already tell when you're just engaging with people. You can see who's holding light and who's a zombie.
Like this, like pretty
much right away. Right
away.
And so it feels like our rescue missions will start to be that, to help continue to populate our new Earth, because there aren't going to be that many souls there when we start out. That's how I've been shown. And it feels like...
You mean in the 5D, there's not going to be that many?
No, I don't actually feel that there are currently very many of us on this timeline, because we kind of feel like, yes, there is another universe that's third dimension reality that has souls, but they don't feel energetically alive to me. It feels like the ones who are energetically alive, there may only be less than 1 million that I could sense. And then there's a sense of a lot of other souls that are on a lower vibration. And it's almost like turning on a TV and tuning into white noise. And they're there, but maybe the ones that are starting to spark, starting to open their heart chakras, again, we want to go and we want to pull them to be with us. Because it's going to be more like again, sense of multidimensional parallel universes right on top of each other. Before we lose them, I want to say before we lose them completely, and I got the siren. I did pull a card.
Okay.
It feels like, again, an alarm. So to me, I'm reading this literally, a siren, like the alarm bells have gone off. And I also got the crone, and these are two feminine archetypes. So there's a feminine archetype that feels like, usually a siren is a very deceptive energy. There's a femme fatale that's here to deceive others, whereas a crone is a very wise, old soul, feminine, wise woman that would be holding like all the secrets to the universe, you could say, the oracle, the mystic. And so I feel like right now, because we're getting this message and it's been coming through strong on my YouTube channel and in the messages for divine masculines, you've really got to know what feminines around you are templated with what energy to know who to trust. Because I really get that you could be looking at two different types of feminines and have them confused and not realize one is trying to keep you in the matrix and one is actually trying to set you free. And you will probably have to, what also I'm getting is that angel energy will trigger you outside of your comfort zone. Angel energy is likely going to sometimes feel like devil energy because it pushes you to grow and it pushes you. And a devil energy, a siren energy will want to keep you very calm and soothed and not rock the boat and not want you to grow outside of your comfort zone. So you could actually believe that the devil is the angel and the angel is the devil. And so really that's very important right now because the future timeline of where you end up is at stake. And agape, unconditional love. So when in doubt, go towards unconditional love, divine love. I just dropped the entire deck of cards. There's a lot of energy here. And that is going to be you trusting your feelings and your emotions over anything your logical mind is trying to tell you about intentions of those in your life. Because this is about aligning to the star family and to the divine counterparts and to the ones that are meant to ascend with you, that are going to honor your ancient wisdom and higher knowing. And they're not going to want to, I'm just getting a lot of surface energy, like very superficial spirituality. It's actually what I'm hearing. So the deceptive energy would be someone that's attempting to parade around and look spiritual and look awakened, but actually they're not. And you also don't feel anything for them very deeply. That seems to be the biggest trap right now for everyone. I just went to this Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles last week, and it felt very superficial to me, the entire energy there. And it was very uncomfortable to my being. It was very uncomfortable to me physically to be there. And this is supposed to be a group of spirituality and of people who are conscious. And I felt very uncomfortable, and I felt like this was a trap for those who don't know the difference. Because really, you don't need anything outside of yourself, again, to connect to spirituality and to connect to higher dimensions and realms. And most people are feeling like they got to go to someone else for a guru or for help or healing, and we don't.
I think that trap you're talking about has been around, and that's what's been pretending to be spirituality, for the last however many years, 40 years, whatever it is. and it's very commercialized. It's not really tuned in. Actually, a lot of those people have a lot of issues, and they're almost preying on people that want to find the right path. So I get what you're saying. I've experienced that, because that's all that seemed that I was familiar with until I kind of had my own awakening. In regard to your cards, it's interesting because did you pull those two cards? They're kind of the opposite. You said the siren and the darker card, the older woman, you
The
said.
crone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting because those are the opposite, right?
Mhm.
You happen to pull those up. And you know, I guess we all have both of those. We have everything inside of us. It's more or less what's going to come through is more powerful, and what are we going to go to? And you said awareness early on. It's how much awareness we have is how far we're going to go.
Mhm.
Right down into this ascension and into ourselves.
Right. And your inner voice. I feel that's also something to get connected to, and not to let someone else tell you something different. A crone will tell you that you have all the answers. A siren will want to tell you to listen to them.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because really there's no ego when you're fully awakened. There's no ego in the fifth dimension. And so it's a very humbling energy and a very nondescript energy. It's not this look at me type of thing. And I feel like also just wants to come in. Sorry, I'm still getting over this throat chakra things from being in LA. That's such demonic energy that I don't know if I'll ever go back to LA. No offense to LA or anyone who lives there, but there are certain spots on the crystal grid that some of us are just really not aligned to.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, many people who have this connection to spirituality, who want to go and show their face online and be public and be visible, that's not something you typically, and I'll say this because I'm online and I'm physically putting myself out there, but it's not because I want anyone to look at me. I actually want people to hear the messages, and I feel compelled to share them, and I actually have to, or they'll just continue to ruminate in my vessel. And I really don't like to share that much about my personal story because I like to protect my divine masculine. Okay. But the ones that are drawn into being online and being public and visible typically are there as gatekeepers to the old false matrix. And so that's again why I feel like unless someone is telling you that you have all the answers yourself and that you can find all the answers yourself, they are gatekeepers that are keeping you still in a third dimension, false spiritual matrix, and not the true awakening timeline, and not the true new earth timeline. Because the true new earth awakening timeline is something that we are starting to become frequency matches to, and we're not going to be told what it is by anybody else. You will just know because you're going to feel like you need to make these changes in your life. You have to let go of the things. You want to go into a different reality. And so listen to that above all else, because that's the pathway of faith that you can actually access. And it's also going to be very enticing to others because they're going to want to know how you're doing that. And nobody really knows how we're doing that other than we're all listening to our own intuition to know for ourselves what to do. And it's different for everyone, because I've been doing readings the last 3 years with thousands of people, and everyone has their own individual feeling for them, what they want to do, what they want to contribute to the new earth, the vision for their own life. And as we start to vibrate at our optimal frequency for ourselves, that's the biggest contribution you can make to anchoring in the higher timeline, because you're anchoring in your highest vibration. And so that's very powerful. And it's not about being in a community or being in a group. You will naturally align to the ones that are on your same vibration, but we don't have to go be with groups that are already in place, because I don't feel like there is any new earth communities already in place. We're building them now. So it really starts with you, and that's not selfish. So it may also feel like you're being very selfish to say, I'm going to go do this. But that's actually you listening to your higher self and the divine plan.
So much wisdom, Laura Faye. Should I call you Laura Faye or Laura? Do you go
It's
by
Laura. You can call me both. It's fine. I called you Amy, so call me Faye. Whatever.
So how can viewers find you, and what services do you offer?
I have just started a Patreon, which is going to be probably getting a bit more out there. That's about this ascension timeline. That's going to be more specific and more in detail. So I'm on Patreon. I do one-on-one readings. You can book that with me through Calendly. It's all in my link tree. So if you find me on Instagram or Twitter, my link tree is there in my bio, so you can see all of that. And I have a YouTube channel as well. My TikTok is being restarted because of the spiritual warfare. My old account, my old TikTok got taken down.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, when did that happen?
About a month ago.
And how many, you probably had what? How many follow?
I had 85,000 followers on TikTok, never speaking once about any of the controversial topics that get censored. So this was a pure attack on what they call New Age cult
You're
and all that.
That's why.
Right.
They don't want healers. They don't want anyone who's going to heal anyone. The real
no, they don't want you actually awakening. They don't want you saying, oh, you're powerful and you can actually heal and awaken yourself.
Is this in a matrix? Am I in a matrix?
Yeah. And the fact that we are in a matrix, and it works just the same as the movie. Just watch the movie, and it's a documentary, and you'll start to see how reality works. But we're all going to Zion, so we're exiting that matrix collectively.
We are. We're there. I see all the light. I see the light. Is there any messages before we go that you would like to share?
I do feel like I want to circle back to the twin flame and just say, for anyone that's in a separation, that's not believing you're going to have a twin flame union, that every single message I've ever got about that is the twin flames are on the front lines of spiritual war. And so you are destined.
Laura, you froze. Oh, you froze for a second. You're okay.
Did I?
Hey, you're back.
What did I just say? What did you see? Of course, it's because I was talking about the twin flames.
Your internet, they're going to shut us down. Your internet connection is unstable, it said.
Okay.
Here you know what? Isn't it
too much energy?
Coincidence that you said the TikTok and then all of a sudden that happened.
There's no coincidences.
Exactly.
I find
validation.
Right. So basically, it's the ones that have the connection to your divine counterpart that you're double the amount of power, because there's two of you. So know that that's how powerful you are, and that if you're doubting your power, your union, you're here to anchor in the higher timeline, and that it's a destined thing that you will come into a union with your counterpart. If that's however it's going to look for you, because it's not going to look like a traditional union the way we think of it. It's always about the mission that you're meant to do together. So, and you're always together in the higher dimensions and realms. Your union is fine in fifth dimension. It's just when we're trying to anchor that in to the physical earth, there's instability until you're both able to hold the amount of power that you know that you hold, and then come together. Because you can't come together if you're not owning your own power individually yet.
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
love it.
Good.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
today, Laura.
So nice to connect with you.
I
Thanks
know.
for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. You're wonderful. Blessings and be well.
You too.